Howdy boo! It's time to check out some of my favorite cartoons and animations. Specifically, let's look at the most irritating problem characters in these otherwise phenomenal animations. Whether they're heroes, villains, or minor characters, these characters often cross that fine line from interesting to irritating and dislikable, to the point where they make a good show less pleasant to watch. So let's check out the top 6 worst characters from good cartoons. I'll also include some choices from animated movies, just for variety. And as always, if you do like these characters, that's great. I'm a pretty biased audience, and I'm glad you can enjoy these characters when I can't. Anyway, let's do this countdown. Number 6. Jerry from Rick and Morty. As much as I find Rick and Morty fascinating, Jerry has always been a mystery to me.
Make yourself comfortable because I suck.
While all the main characters in Rick and Morty generally have good depth, Jerry has just always felt unlikable and petty to me. All he ever seemed to serve in the family was the purpose of showing how insecure and self-centered he could be, often getting jealous of his wife Beth spending time with anyone other than himself, or being so insecure about his intelligence that he has to threaten an entire planet's ecosystem just to pretend he's right. The only message I've ever gotten from Jerry is that he's not smart, and he doesn't fill the boots as a father for Morty or Summer.
Dad, their whole planet is dying!
Ha! You called it a planet! Checkmate!
Don't get me wrong, I love this cartoon, but every single interaction we see with Jerry and Beth shows that they're wrong for each other, and the show just seems to have to prove this to us over and over.
You have the single worst marriage I've ever witnessed. It shouldn't exist. You should never, ever have gotten together, and I do not understand how or why you would ever stay together.
Well, this is just bad couples therapy.
Totally.
And in the new series, when Jerry and Beth have finally divorced, I was honestly relieved. After all the pain and misery they went through, they both honestly deserve a fresh start and can hopefully find more suitable partners. Because personally, I've just never found watching a miserable couple in shows at all pleasant. Jerry's on the start of the list though, because he's more relatable in episodes like M. Night Shyamalan's, where he's inadvertently thrown into a virtual reality simulator, and for the first time, he feels successful. He begins to actually feel secure and comfortable in his life. Unfortunately, it turns out everyone around him is just a lifeless virtual robot. And the heartbreak on Jerry's face when he realizes this is legitimately stirring. And I think that slight relatability and having uncertainty in our own abilities is what people can relate to most in Jerry. And for number 5, Patrick from Modern SpongeBob. While it's debatable whether new seasons of SpongeBob are all actually good, I really enjoy taking any chance I can to talk about SpongeBob, so I decided to bend the rules and put Patrick on the list. The unpleasant part about more recent Patrick is he turned from a not-so-bright but well-meaning character into an annoying smart aleck who acts like he's smart, despite never actually being smart. You probably know what I'm talking about when he lowers his eyelids to that "I'm smarter than you" condescending expression. Season 7 was probably the darkest time for Patrick, as we got episodes like Yours, Mine, and Mine, or Stuck in the Ringer, where Patrick would regularly take advantage of SpongeBob's good nature and walk all over it.
Now is it my turn?
No.
Night, Patty Pal.
No touching.
Mooching money off him, stealing his possessions, or torturing his pet, making fun of SpongeBob, or just overall being an awful friend. Just because someone isn't smart, that doesn't mean they can't be kind. But Patrick isn't smart or kind in the slightest. And while the creators have toned Patrick's obnoxiousness down a little bit in the recent seasons, for the longest time, Patrick has often left me saying, "SpongeBob, you really deserve a better friend." Number 4. The Minions from Despicable Me. Originally, the Minions were a kind of cute novelty in the first Despicable Me movie. But then, Illumination realized they could profit off them, and suddenly, we couldn't escape these things. They were everywhere. From lunchboxes to Tic Tacs, to even getting their own separate bland movie. And aside from being a colourful novelty, all they really do is scream and shout and jump about, serving no real purpose to the three movies, other than to be something loud and colourful for the kids to look at. And it's a shame, because Felonious, Lucy, and their family are far more interesting and likeable than these things by a very wide margin. Fortunately, by the third movie, they're completely separated from the family, and are only given about 5 to 10 minutes screen time. And to make matters worse, these ugly yellow shouty nuisances are now smack on the front of the Illumination logo. Now every time we go to see an Illumination movie, a minion goes onto the screen and screams at the top of his lungs, the minions are overused, annoying yellow pests that have no character outside from babbling and making silly faces. And the third worst character from a good cartoon is Magic Man from Adventure Time. A lot of people recommended Lemon Grab, and I agree he can be annoying, but he doesn't really know any better. But every time Magic Man comes on the screen, I just get annoyed and often find myself skipping the entire episode.
You're welcome.
Man, I freaking hate that guy.
His entire purpose in the cartoon originally seemed to be making Finn and Jake miserable with his magic. It wasn't even simple, innocent mischief he was trying to make. His tricks on people always seemed to have this more malicious and outright nasty bite to them that just left a bad taste in my mouth. He's completely impulsive, killing animals to serve as momentary purposes.
You're welcome.
And even transforms Jake into himself, so Jake can be sent to be executed instead of him for his crimes.
I win again, just like always.
Ugh, I just hate Magic Man's character so much. In the end though, Magic Man does get his comeuppance when he loses his powers and is turned into Normal Man. And making Magic Man mortal was a satisfying way to end his role as an antagonist. While he's a more tolerable character in seasons 8 to 9, for the longest time, I found him an unlikable, exasperating pest in an otherwise phenomenal series. And the second worst character from a good cartoon is Ronaldo from Steven Universe. All of us kept waiting for that redeeming episode where we would discover Ronaldo had a single decent quality that made him even slightly likable.
Look at them all down there, Steven. It's our duty to let those simple people live out their simple lives.
But instead, each dreaded Ronaldo episode made him into even more of a jerk than before.
Steven!
Ronaldo!
No, you are not living here.
The final nail in the coffin was when he outright joined the Gems and was ungrateful, selfish, and cruel to Steven all the way through. A lot of people were expecting in that episode to be given a new depth, an understanding about Ronaldo, and perhaps why he acts like such a snooty annoyance. But sadly, all the episode did was show Ronaldo testing the limits of Steven's patience, and forced the nice Steven to finally put his foot down on someone.
You're just a guy with a blog.
Maybe you're the one that isn't a crystal gem.
But I do think it's possible to bring Ronaldo back as a good character. But I actually think he needs to be brought back as a villain. Maybe Homeworld is using Ronaldo's blog to track the Crystal Gem's activities. Maybe there was a mysterious second like on that video. Or dislike, I don't know, Yellow Diamond. Maybe Yellow Diamond makes a secret deal with Ronaldo to capture the gems once and for all. Actually turn Ronaldo into what he's always wanted to be. A Martian man working for Homeworld. Use that built-up audience dislike of him to make him a dark villain. I often think everything in Steven Universe is carefully planned and thought out. I mean, just look at Lars's redemption. That was amazing. Everything's planned except Ronaldo. I often wonder if Ronaldo serves the greater purpose of being an example of what viewers should strive to never be like. And maybe that's the ultimate reason he exists at all in an otherwise incredible cartoon.
It's me you want!
And before we get to number one, I'd like to give the usual quick dishonorable mentions. Gerald from South Park Season 20. It's hard to not want to punch Gerald nowadays. He's become petty, narcissistic, and very obnoxious. Essentially, he's become an overgrown troll that South Park tries to pass off as normal. Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. For the longest time, Diamond and Silver were considered the most annoying characters in the My Little Pony community. It wasn't until Season 7 that they finally got a little redemption, and were no longer just shallow, two-dimensional snob characters. Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. His self-centered nature towards the other friends tended to just rub me the wrong way. But I've talked about him before in Worst Cartoon Characters, so I left him off the list. And with those said, here we go. And the number one worst character from a good cartoon is Angelica, aka Satanica Returns. Oh, you again!
This is gonna be great. What are you looking at, Peanut Head?
Satanica is a literal embodiment of the spoiled brat. Bart Simpson, lightweight. He's got nothing upon the brattiness of the evil Satanica. From my youngest years to now, Satanica has continually infuriated me, continually sending me into crazy ape mode.
Now get your stinky diaper back there and work, work, work!
It wouldn't be quite so bad if she was just bullying a bunch of kids her age. But she bullies infants. She quite literally takes candy from babies. Could there be a more devious, low little girl out there? I never wanted to be anything like Satanica. She was deceitful, nasty, and so over-entitled it hurt to watch. Satanica was so frustrating to watch that I would often turn off an episode because I just disliked her so much. I respect Angelica's voice actor, Cheryl Chase, but I often think she did too good a job at turning Satanica into a monster.
So, you little baby scared of going down the drain, eh?
A tempestuous, tyrannical, manipulative terror, terrifying infants with her made-up stories.
So don't let them tell you you can't get sucked down the drain. 'Cause you can. Big time. Suckers.
And laughing with glee as she sees the fear in their eyes. And the worst part of it all, she sings. And boy, does her singing accurately depict the noisy mess of an off-key 3-year-old bellowing her lungs out. I couldn't think of a character who has haunted me more. A character who made a good cartoon into an often frustrating experience to watch. I personally consider Angelica the number one worst character from a good cartoon. Most modern cartoons get instant feedback from viewers, so writers generally know when to axe a character, or when to try to redeem them in our eyes. And hopefully that trend of giving these not-so-good characters redemptions will continue into future cartoons. Do you think I missed a particularly bad character from a good cartoon? Or if you disagree, let me know why you think these characters are good in the comments. I'd love to know. And the usual big thanks to my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to see things like bloopers, vlogs, and earlier videos, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/PhantomStrider. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.